What if the key to global power isn't oil, military might, or even cutting-edge technology, but a handful of obscure metals buried deep within the earth? Imagine a world where your smartphone, your electric car, even the missiles defending your nation could be held hostage by a single country's whim. What if that country decided to turn off the tap, leaving entire industries and nations in chaos? This isn't a dystopian fantasy. It's the reality of the escalating battle between China and the United States over rare earth elements, a fight that's quietly reshaping the world as we know it. These metals, largely unknown to the average person, are the hidden backbone of modern life. They power the devices in your pocket, the green energy revolution, and the defense systems that keep countries safe. Yet, for decades, one nation has tightened its grip on this critical resource, turning it into a weapon of economic and geopolitical leverage. China controls over 70% of the world's rare earth supply, and it's not shy about flexing that muscle. In 2025, when it restricted exports of 7 vital elements, the shockwaves hit hard, tech giants scrambled, prices soared, and governments woke up to a stark truth. This is a war fought not with bullets, but with supply chains. The United States, though, isn't backing down. It's striking back with its own arsenal, advanced semiconductors, the brains of modern tech, now weaponized in this tit-for-tat trade war. What's at stake? The future of innovation, national security, and global dominance. This is no ordinary conflict. It's a high-stakes chess game where every move could change the balance of power. In this documentary video, we'll dive deep into this unseen war, how China built its rare earth empire, why the US is racing to catch up, and what it all means for the world. Get ready. This is the fight to crush the rare earth monopoly, and it's only heating up. Rare earth elements sound mysterious, but they're not as rare as their name suggests. Scattered across the globe, from California's deserts to Mongolia's plains, these 17 metals, like neodymium, cerium, and dysprosium, are abundant in the Earth's crust. The real challenge? Getting them out. Extracting and refining these elements is a messy, costly, and complex process, requiring advanced technology and a stomach for environmental trade-offs. That's why they're so precious and so powerful. These metals have unique properties, magnetic, luminescent, electrochemical, that make them irreplaceable in today's world. Neodymium, for instance, crafts the tiny, powerful magnets inside electric vehicle motors and wind turbines. Without it, the push for clean energy stalls. Europium lights up your smartphone screen with vivid colors, while lanthanum keeps your batteries humming. From the headphones in your ears to the solar panels on your roof, rare earths are the unsung heroes of the digital age, silently driving progress. But rare earths aren't just about gadgets, they're a matter of national survival. Defense systems depend on them. Precision-guided missiles use rare earth-powered lasers. Radar and sonar systems lean on dysprosium and terbium to function. Even radiation detection gear needs these metals to protect soldiers and civilians alike. A military without rare earths is a military blinded and disarmed, unable to compete in a high-tech battlefield. The catch is supply. While rare earths are mined in various places, processing them into usable forms is a bottleneck, and China owns it. They refine nearly 90% of the world's supply, a dominance built over decades. This isn't just a market quirk, it's a strategic chokehold. If China cuts off access, entire industries grind to a halt and militaries lose their edge. Understanding rare earths means understanding power, because whoever controls them controls the future. China didn't stumble into its rare earth throne, it built it, brick by strategic brick. The story starts in the 1980s when the global market was a free-for-all. The US, Australia, and others mined and sold rare earths, but China saw a bigger prize. With cheap labor, hefty state subsidies, and lax environmental rules, they slashed prices. Competitors couldn't keep up. Mines in California and elsewhere shut down, unable to match China's cutthroat economics. By the 1990s, the shift was clear. China wasn't just mining more, it was mastering the game. They invested in research, perfecting the tricky art of processing rare earths. State-backed firms took over, consolidating the industry under Beijing's control. Today, China produces over 70% of the world's rare earths and refines nearly all of them. This wasn't luck. It was a long-term play executed with precision, turning a scattered resource into a unified empire. China's strategy didn't stop at production. It extended to control. They introduced export quotas and licenses, deciding who gets rare earths and at what cost. This wasn't about profit alone, it was about leverage. In 2010, during a spat with Japan over disputed islands, China paused rare earth shipments. Japan's tech industry reeled, and the message rang loud: mess with us, and your economy pays. That was just a preview. In 2020, China passed laws tightening export rules on strategic resources, including rare earths. Then, in 2025, they restricted 7 key elements, citing national security. Prices spiked, and industries, from carmakers to defense contractors, felt the squeeze. China had turned a resource into a weapon, proving that dominance isn't just about having the most, it's about knowing how to use it. China's rare earth power isn't just about volume, it's about skill. Processing these metals is no easy feat. It involves separating them from ore through complex chemical steps, often producing toxic waste. China spent decades honing this craft, building expertise others can't replicate overnight. Their scientists and engineers lead the world in turning raw rock into high-purity metals, a technical moat that keeps rivals at bay. This mastery extends beyond the lab. China's built an entire ecosystem, mines, refineries, factories, all working in sync. They don't just supply raw rare earths, they make the magnets, batteries, and components that global industries need. Even if another country mines its own ore, it often ships it to China for processing. That's the trap. China controls the choke points, making it the hub no one can easily bypass. Control means power, and China wields it ruthlessly. Through export quotas and restrictions, they dictate global supply. In 2025, when they cut off 7 critical elements, it wasn't random. It was a calculated jab in the trade war with the U.S. Prices soared, and companies like Ford halted production, proving how a single decision in Beijing can ripple worldwide. This isn't new. In 2019, amid earlier trade tensions, China hinted at banning rare earth exports to the U.S. Markets panicked, and the threat alone shifted negotiations. It's a playbook they've perfected. Use supply as a lever to bend others to their will. Rare earths aren't just metals to China. They're a tool of diplomacy, coercion, and economic might. The U.S.-China trade war kicked off in 2018 with tariffs on steel and soybeans, but it's since grown sharper teeth. Rare earths became a frontline weapon in 2025 when China restricted exports of 7 key elements. It was a direct response to U.S. sanctions on Chinese tech firms, a move that hit hard. These metals were vital for everything from electric cars to fighter jets, and their absence sent shockwaves. The fallout was swift. Neodymium shortages stalled Ford's electric truck production. Defense contractors scrambled for alternatives as dysprosium dried up. Prices for rare earths doubled overnight, exposing how reliant the U.S. had become. China wasn't just flexing, it was proving a point. In this war, rare earths are ammunition, and they hold the stockpile. The U.S. fired back, targeting China's Achilles heel, semiconductors. These chips power phones, AI, and military tech, and the U.S. dominates their design and production. In 2024, tightened export controls blocked China from advanced chip-making tools. By 2025, the U.S. doubled down, choking Chinese firms like Huawei. It was a clear message. If you hit us with rare earths, we'll hit you with chips. This escalation turned the trade war into a tech showdown. China's rare earth cuts disrupted U.S. industries, while U.S. chip bans slowed China's innovation. Both sides dug in, each betting their strength could outlast the other's weakness. The world watched as supply chains strained and prices climbed, caught in a battle where technology itself became the prize. The U.S. didn't just absorb China's rare earth blow, it punched back. Semiconductors became their weapon of choice. These tiny chips are the lifeblood of modern tech, and the U.S. holds a commanding lead in their creation. In 2025, after China's export restrictions, the U.S. expanded bans on chip-making equipment to Chinese firms. The goal? Cripple China's ability to build advanced tech, from 5G networks to military systems. The impact hit fast. Chinese tech giants faced production delays, losing ground in global markets. It was a strategic counterstrike. If China could choke U.S. industries with rare earths, the U.S. could choke China's future with chips. This wasn't just retaliation. It was a bid to level the playing field in a war where technology dictates power. The U.S. also turned inward, racing to break its rare earth reliance. The Mountain Pass mine in California, once a global leader before closing in 2002, reopened with federal backing. New processing plants sprang up, aiming to create a full domestic supply chain. Recycling efforts kicked off too, pulling rare earths from old electronics to lessen the need for imports. But it's a steep climb. Processing expertise takes years to build, and environmental hurdles slow progress. China's decades-long head start looms large. Still, the U.S. is pushing hard, driven by a mix of urgency and pride. The question is whether they can catch up before China's next move, or if they'll stay one step behind. China's rare earth dominance isn't just about supply, it's about cash. They control prices by flooding markets or tightening flows, a flexibility rivals can't match. State subsidies let their firms sell cheaply, driving out competition. In the 1990s, this tactic shuttered foreign mines. Today, it keeps them at bay. China can lose money short-term because their eyes are on the long game, total control. This financial muscle shapes global industries. When China cut exports in 2025, rare earth prices spiked, padding their coffers while squeezing buyers. It's a win-win for Beijing, profit and power. Their state-driven model, subsidies, tax breaks, centralized planning, outmatches free market players, making China not just a supplier, but a market dictator. China's leverage goes beyond money. It's strategic. Their rare earth grip gives them sway over entire economies. In 2025, Ford's electric truck line stopped dead over neodymium shortages, costing billions. Tech firms like Apple faced delays, and defense contractors begged for scraps. One country's decision rippled worldwide, proving rare earths are a lifeline China can cut at will. This power shifts geopolitics too. Nations dependent on China tread carefully, wary of angering their supplier. It's not just trade, it's influence. By controlling a resource everyone needs, China holds a trump card, one they've played before and will play again, keeping the world on edge. Can anyone loosen China's grip? The U.S. and allies are trying. Australia's Lynas mine is scaling up, a rare non-Chinese player. Japan's recycling tech pulls rare earths from trash, cutting reliance on mines. The U.S. pumps billions into Mountain Pass and beyond, dreaming of self-sufficiency. These steps aim to chip away at China's monopoly, diversifying a dangerously narrow market. But it's no quick fix. Building a supply chain takes time, money, and know-how, areas where China excels. Processing remains the bottleneck. Even new mines often lean on Chinese refineries. The gap is wide, and closing it means overcoming decades of inertia. The effort's real, but victory's far from guaranteed. The future's hazy. China's dominance won't vanish soon, but cracks are forming. If recycling and new sources grow, dependence could ease. Yet this fight mirrors a bigger clash, U.S. versus China, tech versus resources, West versus East. A stalemate might emerge with neither side fully winning. Or tensions could deepen, splitting global systems further. One truth stands. Rare earths aren't just metals. They're the stakes in a game that'll define tomorrow. We've peeled back the layers of the rare earth war, a conflict where China's supply dominance meets U.S. tech prowess. From their critical role in phones and tanks to China's strategic mastery and America's counterattack, these metals are no side story. They're the main event. The trade wars escalated, with chips and rare earths as weapons, and the world hangs in the balance. What's next? China holds firm, but the U.S. and others are pushing back. The outcome will shape innovation, security, and power for decades. So what do you think? Can the monopoly be broken, or is this a new Cold War just beginning? Hit like if this deep dive opened your eyes, drop a comment with your take, and subscribe for more on the forces driving our world. This fight's not over. Stay tuned.